The diner smelled of coffee and old memories, but the millionaire felt strangely uneasy, sitting across from his aging mother. He had flown in on a private jet that morning, yet her soft smile made him feel like a small boy again, quiet and unsure. She held his hand gently, her fingers thinner now, but her eyes carried a warmth that money in his world could never buy. Before he could speak, her gaze drifted past him and froze on the young waitress walking toward their table with a tray. The woman wore a simple apron, her steps calm, but something in his mother's expression shifted from peace to deep emotion. His mother's lips trembled slightly, and she squeezed his hand tighter, as if a sudden wave of the past had hit her chest. The millionaire turned, confused, wondering why a stranger in a diner could cause such a powerful reaction in her heart. The waitress placed the coffee down politely, her eyes kind, unaware that this quiet moment was about to change 3 lives. His mother slowly stood up, ignoring her weak knees, her voice shaking as she looked into the waitress's surprised face. "Son," she whispered, tears already forming, "this is the girl who cared for me when no one else had the time." The words hit him harder than any business loss, because he knew exactly who that no one else was meant to be. For the first time in years, the powerful man felt small, as guilt rose quietly, standing taller than all his success. His mother reached for the waitress's hand, holding it with a gratitude that came from months of silent nights and pain. The waitress looked nervous, trying to smile politely, not expecting the past to walk back into her life this way today. The millionaire watched in silence, his mind racing back to the nursing home he had chosen instead of rearranging his busy life. He remembered the excuses he made, the meetings he claimed were urgent, the calls he said he would return later. But later had turned into weeks, and weeks into months, while his mother waited by a window he never looked through. "This young woman," his mother continued softly, "sat with me when the lights went out and fear filled the room. She held my hand during the nights I couldn't breathe well, whispering that morning would come soon." The millionaire's chest tightened as every word built a picture of care he should have given, but never did himself. The waitress tried to step back, saying it was just her job, but his mother shook her head with gentle insistence. "No," she said firmly, "kindness is not written in job contracts. It comes from the heart when no one is watching." People nearby started to notice the emotional scene, but the millionaire felt alone inside, facing a truth he avoided. For the first time, success felt like a wall he had built, and now he was trapped behind it, unable to hide. The millionaire cleared his throat, trying to speak, but the weight in his chest made even simple words feel heavy. He looked at the waitress properly now, not as staff, but as someone who had stood where he should have stood. Her eyes held quiet strength, the kind built from long shifts, tired feet, and still choosing to be kind anyway. I didn't know," he said finally, but the excuse sounded weak even to his own ears in that small diner booth. His mother glanced at him with love, not anger, and that softness hurt more than any blame she could have given. "She never told me you were busy," the waitress added gently. "She always said her son works very hard." Those words cut deep, because he knew she had protected his image even when loneliness filled her long days. He remembered sending money every month, thinking comfort could be wired through numbers instead of presents. But now he saw clearly money had paid the bills, while this woman had paid with time, patience, and heart. The room felt warmer, yet his hands were cold, as if success had drained heat from the places that mattered most. "What else did she hide from me?" he asked quietly, afraid of the answer, but unable to stop himself now. The waitress hesitated, her eyes lowering, as if the next truth she carried was heavier than all the rest. The waitress took a slow breath, glancing at his mother first, as if asking silent permission to open old wounds today. His mother nodded gently, her eyes calm, ready to let the truth come out, even if it made her son uncomfortable now. "There were nights," the waitress began softly, "when she cried after pretending to be strong the whole day." The millionaire's jaw tightened, every word landing like a quiet hammer, breaking the pride he once carried so easily. "She never cried about pain," the waitress added. "She cried because she thought she had failed you somehow." He looked up sharply, shocked, because failure was a word he never allowed near his life or his family name. "She said maybe she didn't raise you right," the waitress continued, voice shaking, "since you had no time left for her." The diner noise faded in his ears, replaced by a heavy silence that made breathing feel like work he didn't deserve. His mother tried to smile through tears, not blaming him, still protecting his heart the way mothers always do. But that love now felt like a mirror, showing him the cost of ambition when it forgets the hands that raised it. He had built companies, closed deals, owned buildings, yet missed the small room where she waited every evening. For the first time, he wished time could be bought back, because no amount of money could return those days. The millionaire lowered his head, his polished image cracking quietly as regret settled deep where pride once lived. "I thought providing was enough," he said, voice low, realizing how small that belief sounded in this simple place. His mother touched his arm gently, not to defend him, but to remind him love still stood beside him, not against. The waitress watched silently, seeing not a rich man now, but a son facing the space he left in his own home. "She waited for your calls every evening," the waitress shared softly, smiling at the door when phones rang. "But when it wasn't you, she would say, 'You must be busy,' and that made her proud, even while it hurt." Each sentence felt like a mirror, reflecting moments he traded for meetings that no longer seemed important at all. He remembered canceling visits, promising next month, always believing there would be more time waiting later. But time had moved without asking him, leaving memories in a nursing home instead of inside his own house. "I'm sorry, Mom," he whispered, the words shaking, because apologies came easier than changing the past. His mother smiled through tears, not because the pain was gone, but because hearing him try meant everything. Yet, deep inside, he knew sorry was only the first step, and redemption would ask for much more than words. The millionaire wiped his eyes slowly, not used to tears in public, but this kind of pain refused to stay hidden today. He turned toward the waitress, his voice softer now, carrying a respect that years of success had never taught him before. "Thank you for standing where I should have stood," he said, and the sentence felt heavier than any deal he ever signed. She smiled nervously, saying she only did her job, But he knew real kindness like that never comes from duty alone. Some people work for money, but others give care from the heart, even when no one important is there to notice. His mother watched quietly, her eyes shining, seeing a change in her son that lectures and time had never managed to bring. He reached for his phone by habit, then stopped, realizing this moment needed presence, not another call or distraction. Instead, he moved his chair closer to his mother, holding her fragile hand with the same care she once gave him. "I want you with me," he said gently, "not in a room far away, but inside my home, my routine, my real life." His mother's lips trembled, hope and doubt mixing together, afraid to believe a promise that sounded too beautiful. He met her eyes with honesty, not as a powerful man, but as a son ready to repair what he still could. In that small diner booth, no papers were signed, yet the biggest decision of his entire life had just been made. People in the diner returned to their meals, but at that table, 3 lives were quietly shifting into a new direction. The millionaire asked the waitress about her life, learning she worked double shifts to support a sick father at home. Hearing that, his chest tightened again, because kindness had been flowing from someone carrying her own heavy burden. "You cared for my mother like family," he said. "Let me help your family now, not as charity, but as gratitude." She hesitated, pride and need fighting inside her, unused to someone seeing her struggles beyond the uniform she wore. His mother squeezed her hand gently, nodding, as if giving permission for help she herself had once received. That moment felt like a circle closing, where care given in silence returned in a way none of them expected. The millionaire made a promise, not loudly, not for attention, but in the calm voice of someone who had finally learned. From that day, he visited his mother daily, not with gifts, but with time, stories, and simple moments at the table. Success still followed him, but now it walked behind family, not ahead of them, no longer leading him away. The waitress became part of their lives too, proof that strangers can become blessings when hearts stay open. And the millionaire learned that real wealth is not counted in money, but in the people who never give up on you. Months passed, and the millionaire's mansion no longer felt like a hotel, but a home filled with voices and shared meals. His mother's room was placed near the garden window, where sunlight came gently, and laughter replaced old silence. Every morning he sat with her before work, drinking tea slowly, learning stories from her past he never knew. Those simple talks healed spaces inside him that years of success, travel, and awards had never managed to reach. The waitress visited often, too, no longer in uniform, but as someone who belonged around their dinner table. Her father received treatment with his help, and gratitude turned into a quiet friendship built on respect, not pity. The millionaire noticed something strange. Business problems felt smaller now because his priorities finally stood right. He stopped chasing every deal, choosing instead to protect evenings, birthdays, and ordinary days that truly mattered. Sometimes he caught his mother watching him with peace in her eyes, and that look meant more than any profit ever could. He understood now that success without presence creates distance, but love with time builds a life that stays strong. The past could not change, but each new day became a chance to live differently, with awareness, guiding his steps. And in that second chance, he found redemption not in money given, but in time returned to the ones he loved.